What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Gooner channel, a channel 100% dedicated to Arsenal Football Club, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. And, well, it's been more than 24 hours. The dust has well and truly settled. I've had a chance to watch the game against West Ham several times, and every time I watch it, I want Saka's penalty to go in, and I'm disappointed it doesn't. Or I want Jesus' foot just to connect with the ball on the goal line and scramble that victory for us. There's no point pretending that we didn't all want and expect a victory away to West Ham. But I think if there's one thing that has really surprised me today, as it started to surprise me yesterday, was the number of, not just, Chelsea and Tottenham fans who I know can't wait to come out and call us bottlers and tell us that we've lost something that they never looked like having, and it's just envy and jealousy. But it's a number of Arsenal fans who are coming out and they're ready to say it's all over, declare it's all gone. I just don't get it. Tom Canton made this point really well on the Gooner Talk earlier, a show I never miss, except I'm never up at 8 o'clock in the morning, so I always watch it afterwards. But he made the point as well. You know, what is in it for you to say that we're definitely not going to do it? There's 7 games left. We could finish on 94 points. Even if, really simply, amongst the other cliches that we're bottlers and City won't drop any points and all the things that everybody seems to be happy to say, even though it's been said a million times before, the reality is that this is still in our hands. And whilst a title is still in our hands, it seems more than a bit stupid to be saying that it's definitely over. We are 4 points clear at the top of the table, and we do play an extra game before we go to City. If there's one thing that's been surprising to me, it's been just how quick Arsenal fans have been to write us off. You should never do that. So what I thought I'd do in this video, rather than sort of go through player by player and point out that Thomas Partey had a bad game, that Saka wasn't on it, that we don't look as good at the back without Saliba, all of these things have been covered by other shows, and they've done a great job of it, and there's no point in me throwing in my tuppence worth of opinion on this. So what I thought I'd do instead is I am able to bring a little bit of context, because the other thing that Tom Canton said was that he was only 9 years old when Arsenal last won the Premier League, which made me think, of course, fans today who are so quick to write us off, they've never experienced that sort of come from behind victory that we've achieved in our history. And I can understand it. You've just had years of disappointment. I'm going to start with 1989, which is the first league I remember. And if you think the talk about bottling is bad right now, it was... 89 is famous now because of the film Fever Pitch, Amy Lawrence's book 89, and which became a documentary. And if you haven't seen those, what are you waiting for? Get on with it. Absolutely fantastic. It was a league which, as I'm sure all of you know by now, we had to go to Anfield on the last game of the season. It had been postponed because of the FA Cup, and an FA Cup that turned into the Hillsborough disaster. And so there were huge emotions running very high at the time. Big question marks about football in this country. And we had to go to Anfield and win by 2 clear goals. So if you're thinking that there's no way we can go to the Etihad and win or get a draw, as all we need to do in this case, or more likely all we need to do in this case. And let me give you some context around why it was such a challenging thing to go to Liverpool and win by 2 clear goals, let alone win. We couldn't just win. We had to win by 2 clear goals. So just to give you some idea, in the 80s, they won the First Division in 80, 82, 83 and 84, doing 3 in a row, 86 and 88. They won the European Cup, or what is now the Champions League, twice in 81 and 84. They won the FA Cup twice in 86 and 89. And the League Cup in 81, 82, 83 and 84. 14 trophies in 10 years. They were a powerhouse. Not saying that Man City aren't as good as a team now as they were then, or that couldn't go on to be as good a team. But really, I think you have to say that if you had to pick going to Anfield then, with the heightened emotion of Hillsborough and them going for a double, versus going to the Etihad, the achievement of winning 2-0 stands out and has survived the more than 30 years interval, lived long in the memory just because it was such a huge achievement. And that's what we need to do again, then that's what we need to do again. In 89, it's worth remembering, we played 38, we won 22, we drew 10 and we lost 6. We scored 73 goals and conceded 36. So we had conceded 5 more goals in the whole season than we have at this point, but we scored 1 fewer goal in the whole season, and we'd only won 22. So we've already won more games this season than the legendary 89 team did. It was an 89 team that had no experience of winning and managed to do it out of nowhere. Very similar to this one. There are huge parallels between 89 and 2023, which is why I keep going on about it, not just because I love it so much. In 91 was a little bit more processional. We finished 4th the year after winning the title. It was a bit disappointing, but George Graham managed to reinforce the team, brought in Dave Seaman as goalkeeper. A couple of other notable players came in, and it really was what I thought was going to be the closest to an invincible season I ever saw. We lost 1 game that season away to Chelsea 2-1. And 24 wins, 13 draws, 1 defeat. We finished the season on 83 points. Should have been 85, but we had 2 points docked for a fight at Old Trafford, which they only had 1 point docked for. So, we've always had this difficult relationship with the officials, and it's no different this season, is it? I mean, VAR hasn't been our best friend so far. But in that season was a little bit more processional. We had Man United at home. We needed to beat Man United at home in order to win the league. And before we kicked off in the later game, Liverpool went to Forest. And to everybody's huge surprise, this fantastic Liverpool team, title champions, went to Forest and got beaten. It was an Ian Wone goal. It was a classic goal. And it meant that we kicked off against Manchester United, and the title had already been won. It was a great day, great atmosphere, and we ended up winning 3-0 against Manchester United. It wasn't Manchester United that was as good as it was going to become. But the Manchester United that was as good as it was going to become was the team that we beat in 97-98. Now, Arsene Wenger's first full season had wobbles in that. Not in the run-in, but certainly earlier than that. In fact, on 13th of December, 97, at Highbury, we hosted Blackburn. It wasn't a brilliant Blackburn. It wasn't a terrible Blackburn, but they beat us 3-1. And everybody, all of the Arsenal fans then, the experts, if you will, were phoning in talk shows, which I listened to on the way home, saying, you can't play Vieira and Petit in the midfield. It doesn't work. There's 2 destroyers. There's not enough flair. This was the team with Overmars. This was a team with Bergkamp. We had Ian Wright, even though he was injured in the run-in. Experts everywhere. We had to go to Old Trafford in that run-in, and we had to do what everybody said was impossible. Manchester United, a far better team than us, so we're not going to drop any points. In the end, we went to Old Trafford, and thanks to Mark Overmars' goal, we beat them 1-0. Can be done. The Man United team that we beat that year went on to win the treble the next year, so these were no slouches. In 98, we actually played 38 games, won 23, and scored 68 across the season, so fewer than we've scored already now, and we won the same amount of games. We finished the 97-98 season on 78 points. So Arteta's 2022-23 season is already better than that one. But of course, people don't talk about Man United bottling that season. They just talk about, how well we did in order to beat them. Now, in 2002, this is really worth remembering, is that, from 99, 2000 and 2001, we came second. So there was this kind of beginning of talking about us as bottlers that became a sort of it became a regular thing, a standing joke. But in 2002, we had to go to Old Trafford to win and did. And it felt like a really difficult challenge that night as well, but what a night it was. And I'll never forget Sylvain Wiltord's goal. That team played 38, won 26, drew 9, lost 3, scored 79 goals, conceded 36, and finished the season on 87 points. No one talks about Man United bottling that season, and nor should they. In 2004 was a little bit more processional. It was the invincible season. We had some iffy draws. We drew 12 times, which is the second highest number of draws on this list. So even though We won 26. We finished the season on only 90 points, which is not out of the realms of possible for Arteta's team this season. The achievements of this season set against all of those, just fantastic. And for people to be even talking about bottling when at the start of this season, the odds of us even being where we are now were astronomical, is a little bit frustrating. We are in a fantastic position that we were in. Only a few of those 5 titles could you say that, we're in a fantastic position. One thing we have in common with those 5 title wins is that the title is still in our hands right now. We don't have to hope that Man City throw it away or bottle it. We just have to win every one of our games. And if you don't think that's possible, then why do you think it's possible Man City will do it? We've played one game more than them with 4 points clear of them. We have done better with our 31 games than they've done with their 30. We have lost one game fewer than them this season so far. And it only takes us going there and getting a draw. And the pendulum will swing in our favour again. Hugely disappointing to throw away 2-goal leads twice in a row for the first time any Premier League team's done it at top of the table. But this is not the kind of wobble that, West Ham didn't turn us over 3-1. Liverpool didn't put 7 past us. I think we have got to beat Southampton at home, but I think we're comfortably going to do that. In which case, not to add to what everybody's already said, but we will go to the Etihad 7 points clear on merit, and it'll be a hell of a night. It could be the night that we add the sixth title to this beautiful list. And you will remember where you were that night. And if you're the sort of person who's already been saying, it's all done, it's over, then you're not going to feel great about yourself that night. And, all of the people who love you most should be spending a lot of the time after celebrating reminding you of what a wally you are, right? Our job as fans is to believe until it's impossible. And then, to praise the team that put us in contention for a title against Man City, who are a juggernaut of a team. Put together at great expense with all the best players in the world chosen in order to achieve things and with a realistic chance of hitting a treble this season. Hats off to any team that can go 3 in a row with winning it, because we've never even won 2 in a row. So I'm hugely grateful to Arteta, to all the backroom staff, to every one of the players, including all the squad players that have stepped up and done what needed to be done. And please, before you write us off, it has to have come to something when Gary Neville, there's only 5 teams in history, I think I'm right in saying 5, there's 5 or 6 teams in history that have ever won 3 in a row. And Gary Neville has done it twice. So he is somebody that you should take very seriously. His experience of this is better than anyone's. In his own words, I'm going to let him have the last say here, which is not going to happen often on my channel, but I'm going to let him have the last say here. And you have to think to yourself, if Gary Neville is able to believe in Arsenal, then if you're going to call yourself a fan, you at least have to have as much faith in Arsenal as Gary Neville does, right? That should be the bare minimum. And if you're planning to eat any more Domino's pizzas after their ridiculously unfunny tweet, I'm never eating another Domino's, which is no real hardship. Mostly whenever I eat their food, it tastes like something you'd find in a sink. But all of these people want to jump on a bandwagon and say it's over. Just make sure that you're not one of these negative people. There's plenty of them around out there already. We need all the positive energy and vibes as we go into the final 7 games, starting with Southampton on Friday, which is a must-win. Anyway, that's quite enough from me. I just wanted you to know that historically we have achieved greater feats than just going away to the Etihad and getting a draw would represent. So, now you know. That's enough from me. Be lucky! See you soon.
But I think they're in a great position. If you'd said to me at the start of the season, Sir Alex Ferguson always used to say, if you have to win one game to win the league, would you take it? And the answer was always yes. Arsenal win at the Etihad, they'll win the league.